Okay, so good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Ben Kernick, and today I'm going to be providing you some background on Naviate, explain where it's come from, why does it exist within the first place, and what does it have within it to be able to support the many challenges that our customers have fed back to us over the years. Now, following this short introduction, I'm then going to hand you over to our technical specialists, Alan and Lawrence, and they're going to be taking you through a deep dive of the technology and cover some of the more common features and associated benefits that our customers value. Okay, so from a high level, what is Naviate and what are the challenges that it sets out to address? Well, essentially, Naviate is a technology ecosystem, and it enables our customers to be able to spend more time on valuable design work and far less time on those repetitive, manual-based labor kind of intensive tasks, further providing capacity, of course, to be able to do more of what we enjoy. Now, it's fully integrated within Autodesk Revit, and it sets out to maximize user productivity and reduce the risk of error, and it does that through an integrated suite of workflow enhancement tools, educational content, and technical support. Now, it's been born directly out of industry and user feedback, and each function within Naviate can, in the main, be directly associated with a customer request. Now, it's that community of about 10,000 plus users, together with industry leading experts such as yourselves, that have been able to kind of support that development over the last 12 years, and as a Naviate community, continue to make it so successful today. So what have we learned from customers assisting us within the development of the platform to date? Well, initially, whilst there's a recognized value within the Autodesk solution, together with an appreciation that these days, many of them are becoming somewhat industry standard, it is clear to see from user feedback that the workflows within Revit are in some areas very limited, and many of them need enhancing and automating to simply reduce the amount of time that we spend on non-valuable activity, which of course can have somewhat of a negative impact on those having to utilize the tools. Now, to address the challenge, the core functionality that comes as part of Naviate really sits in what we would refer to as the workflow optimization pillar. Now, Naviate expands the tool set of Revit with over 100 additional productivity tools. And whilst it's impossible for us to be able to cover all of them today, we will instead focus within the more commonly used features that our customers benefit from. Now, we also get the feedback that whilst there's various third-party productivity plugins to choose from, many are purely individual tools which address a specific customer need. Now, that means that not only does a customer have to procure these from multiple sources, which of course can collectively become expensive, they also have the ongoing management overhead of deploying them individually and of course keeping each one of them up to date. Now, another aspect that we must consider is the user experience and the inconsistency of utilizing different tools and the resulting challenge that that can have on user adoption and of course the resulting benefits. Now, whilst there's a limited number of tools available within the market free of charge, we do need to ask ourselves what the real cost of these are. Many can be poorly managed, they can be out of date. And if one was to corrupt the model that you're working within, would that developer accept ownership and have the capacity and technical expertise to put things right? I'm not so sure. Now, another way of achieving much needed automation is of course through the utilization of tools such as Dynamo. Now, whilst this is a great solution for specific requirements, customers have started to appreciate just how much time is needed to not only develop the initial scripts, but more so an appreciation of having to manage them moving forward. So what's more, with everyone looking to achieve that same level of automation within many of these common areas, it doesn't make a lot of sense for all of us to be investing within the same thing, and especially when our business models are built on charging customers for our time. So another consideration and potential risk is that of the intellectual property sitting within one person and that valuable resource then leaving the business. So again, to address such challenges, Naviate has a comprehensive, consolidated set of features, which when supported by a unified interface, eases learning, supports adoption, and drives successful utilization. So Naviate supports its users in being able to drive consistent quality through built-in standards. Now, these might be associated to predefined settings within the provided templates or specifications built directly within the functionality itself. So having such a broad set of tools available, Naviate can support customers in being able to remove the burden of having to procure and manage multiple third-party applications. And it can also remove the overhead and the risk of developing automation in-house allowing customers to really focus on what they do best. Now, considering the dependency that we have on technology that fundamentally underpins that design process, optimizing a team's capability through training is key. Now, whilst that's commonly recognized, it's nothing really new. There is a tendency to forget the importance of continuous learning and the ability to keep up with the changes of ever developing technology, of course, all aspiring to make us that much more efficient. Now, the realization is that learning can't be static, and it certainly can't be a tick in the box exercise that purely fulfills the requirement of an appraisal. So before looking to enhance Revit with productivity features, there is a recognized skills gap, and we need to close that within the core technology itself, in turn being able to maximize the return on that existing Autodesk investment. Now, this is something that's quite close to my heart, and going back when I focused within organizational development, an interesting book called Committed to Memory focused on the challenges around memory retention. So whilst active learning is important, it also needs to be relative to the task in hand, and it needs to be available on demand. Now, if applied directly after consumption, the chances of retention increase tenfold and provide a much better foundation to therefore be able to recall that knowledge down the line. So again, to address such a need, Naviate differentiates itself due to being developed by an Autodesk Platinum partner. And as such, it provides a comprehensive e-learning platform which customers can use to further develop their skills within the Autodesk portfolio of technologies, along with Naviate itself. So to accommodate the different styles of learning, Naviate comes with a range of different media covering workflows, courses, videos, and individual reference documents. Now, instantly available through a mobile device or a web browser, it also neatly sits within the core Autodesk application to be able to support in-session learning. Now, most customers utilize the powerful search function. Now, that provides you the ability to essentially search on any word that's spoken within a video. Now, whilst visual learning has become more popular these days, the platform provides a great way, therefore, to be able to quickly find relevant content and deliver it via bite-sized chunks, again, being able to support the challenges around retention. Now, finally, another concern was in relation to technical issues that a team might face and the effect that that could potentially have on project delivery. So whilst the pressure's on, delays can cause unnecessary stress for a team, and as a result, that can develop into a negative situation. Now, this, of course, has probably been more evident through COVID and the requirement for a majority of us to all be working remotely. So whilst the benefits of optimizing workflow and closing the skills gap are, of course, very evident, customer feedback has highlighted the fact that this can be easily corroded if it's not protected. So again, underpinned by an Autodesk Platinum partner, Naviate comes with access to technical support. But just like that of the learning element, it covers both the Autodesk portfolio as well as Naviate itself. So having such an insurance policy reduces the stress on a team, it protects user well-being, and it provides the ability to be able to explore new, more efficient and effective methodologies of working rather than sticking with what we know. Now, assistance can be accessed through several different channels, and whilst in the main users are going to be put directly through to a dedicated technician, the agreed SLA will provide a response within the hour. Now, not only does the service aid within things like installation and licensing requirements, more importantly, it supports the imparting of knowledge to further supplement and expand the value achieved through what we saw earlier, the Naviate learning. So one way of looking at it is almost having a virtual trainer on demand. Now, finally, the Naviate community is also an extremely important part of that ecosystem. And as a member, it provides a platform for collaboration and the opportunity for users to discuss their technical requirements, as well as table ideas on how to be able to overcome them. Now, for Symmetry, it provides us the direction on what customers really need, what they really want, and in turn, considerations which will drive the future development. So having such an agile outsourced development team which can respond to specific customer requirements, yet provide that same functionality to the masses at a cost that's attainable, is clearly beneficial for everyone. So Naviate is not just a productivity add-in. It's instead an ecosystem of technology and services, providing many features that our customers can benefit from. It's developed by Symmetry, an Autodesk Platinum partner, and we are indeed unique. And having the capability to support both native Autodesk technologies as well as the extension of Naviate itself, essentially providing a one-stop shop for all. So with that said, it's now time to take a look at the technology itself. So I'm going to pass you across to Alan and Lawrence for a deeper dive.
Okay, Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this webinar. So today I'm going to be showing you the Naviate Accelerate tools, and I'm going to use these on a structural model in structural environment. So obviously I've got a set up model for this webinar, and I'll just show you some things on this model. As Revit users, you will more than likely be used to bringing in additional content into your model, and sometimes it can be a bit time consuming searching through the default library, searching through your own library to try and find that additional content. So the first tools we're going to look at are the family browser and then the cloud browser. So if I activate the family browser, we get a nice dialog box, and it has detected the default library, so we can browse through the default library. But to make this easier, we have a search facility. So if I were looking for, I don't know, for example, piles, I could actually just type pile in the top there, press enter, and what happens now, in this other panel, it is showing me all the folders where it's detected Revit content related to piles. If I expand down, I can then access those folders. So for example, if I go into the structural foundation, it'll then show me all the piles in that folder. So then what we do, as we're scrolling down, we may see some content that we want to bring in. If I select one, this one has a notification at the bottom and it's in green. It's telling me I've already got that one loaded into my project. Okay, so if I click on another one, the notification at the bottom is now telling me it is not loaded into the project. Right, so this is the one I actually want, and it's really easy how we get it into the project. We just click and hold it, drag and drop, and then we can position it if we want. We've also got another option here which will show us the families that are loaded in. So there's the one I've just dragged in, and if I go up the tree a little bit to the main structural foundation folder there, you can see it's showing me all the piles and the pile caps that I've loaded in to my project already. So we can use this to, one, find out what families we've got in there, and two, load in additional families. So if I just come out of that one, and I'm now going to go into the cloud browser, this is very similar. The only difference here is this is obviously accessing a cloud location. And the families in here have been uploaded by Symmetry. We have a similar scenario. We can click on all these categories to look for what we want, or we can use the search facility at the top. So again, if I type pile in there, enter, it will then load up. So there it's showing me all the piles, and it's the same kind of procedure. We just click on the ones we want, drag and drop. So I'll just drop one in there, okay. And once I've dragged in what I want, I can then exit out of that dialog box. Okay, so moving on to another feature. Down here, I have placed a sheet pile, and what I'd like to do is run this sheet pile along the front of the building. If I go to a plan view, excuse me. So what I've done, I've actually sketched a line in there, kind of indicating where I want this sheet pile to go. Now, without this next tool, this would be quite a tedious task. I'd have to start creating some arrays and then rotating and creating some more and rotating. So using our Align to Path tool, all I need to do now is select the pile, and then I select the path that I want the pile to be copied, arrayed onto. I then hit finish, and the tool will do all the rest. If we just jump back into our 3D view, you can see there's a nice little pile layout. The sheet piles all where I want them. Okay, so this tool also has another feature. Just going to jump back to that plan view, and I'm just going to have a look at, say, for example, this pile that I copied in. And we also have a rectangular array tool. Now, again, if you've used Revit for some time, you'll know if you wanted to create a rectangular array, you'll have to array in one direction and then start another array and array in the opposite direction. But this tool will do both. So if I go rectangular array, select the item I want, hit finish, it then gives me a dialog box. We can then specify how many rows we want, how many columns, and the distance between each. So once I've typed in what I want to know what this looks like. So we have a little preview button there. Okay, I can see, yeah, let's say that's what I want. So let's just go back in there and I hit OK. It will then generate that rectangular array, saving me a whole lot of time over the standard Revit method. Excuse me. Okay, so let's have a look at something else. I'm just going to jump back to my 3D view. So at this point, let's say I'm wanting to select the piles. Now, the method in standard Revit, yeah, I could select them, right click, but the problem I've got is I've got different pile types in there. So I need another method, and we have a filter tool that'll make this really easy. So going to the filter tool, and at this left-hand side, we have our categories. So what I'm going to do here is use the little plus symbol and expand my structural foundations, and I can see all the pile options in there. So what I'm going to do is just pick out the concrete pile, and I've got an in situ concrete pile there as well. So those are the two that I want. And this tool is really useful because it allows me to save this selection. So I can use it again and again and again. I don't have to keep coming in and picking from a category list. So let's just give this a name. Hit OK. I'm actually just going to come out of this one rather than selecting. I'll just come out and I'll show you another tool that we have. So as we're working through our model and we're creating those selection sets, in effect, rather than me going into that tool again, we also have a quick filter tool. So it gives me a quick access to the ones I've already created and saved. There's the one I want. And then I just click on select elements. And then it selected all the piles that I wanted. So it selected all the concrete piles that I wanted. And then we've now got another tool that I can use, and I can add coordinates to all the piles. So activating the tool gives me some options, and the one I'm going to use is structural foundations. And what this is going to do, it is going to add the coordinates for the X, Y, and Z. It's going to actually create a new parameter there, but it's basically creating X, Y, Z coordinates. So I hit OK. And you can see there it's created 238 shared coordinates. So I hit close. If I just come into here and let's just select one of those piles, and we can see there in our properties box the X, Y, and Z coordinates and the angle as well. So really easy to do, really quick to do. I can do them all in one go. Okay, so another tool we've got to do with selecting is a live selection tool. We would use this as we're modeling, like on the fly kind of stuff. I want to select, for example, all the structural columns. Okay, select all the columns and then do whatever I'm going to do. Maybe I want the structural framing as well, so I can select them. So we use this as a live selection as we're working. We don't save these out, we're just doing it on the fly. I can then close that, deselect those. And then one last tool that is kind of to do with selecting, it's called Color Elements. And along with the obvious of being able to color elements, this tool can, there's loads of tasks that we can do with this tool. So let's say I'm wanting to find out or check the level heights for the pile caps. And I can use this color element tool to do just that. So what we do is look in our category list and I find structural foundations, and in the drop down what I'm looking for then is elevation at top. So as we look in our model view there, we can see it's coloured all the pile caps in this orange colour except this one at this end, and it's got like a greeny colour. So there's obviously a difference there. If I actually look for the same colour in my list and select it, yeah, it's selected that one in the 3D view, and it's actually giving me the properties over here, and I can change it on the fly. So I can see it's got the -300 offset, so I need to set that back to 0. What I'll do now is just refresh the colour list, and we can see now when I click back in the model that it's recoloured that one. I've changed the height and it now matches all the rest. So a really quick and easy way just to check some level heights. What else can we do in here? So in my model, we've got a couple of wall types in there, and I've added some comments to identify the wall types, and I can use color elements to show me those. So if I were to pick walls, and then again use the little parameter drop down here and go to comments, you can see what we've got there. I've identified one as a core wall and one as a shear wall. Really quick and easy way to do this. Let's just have a look at one more thing in here. So let's say I want the structural columns and the structural framing, and I know there's two different material types in there, but at this minute it's just selecting all. So let's just come up here and go to structural material, and now by clicking there you can see it's identified. We've got some steel framing, steel columns, and I've also got some concrete columns in there. So just before I exit this tool, what I'm going to do is tick this option here to keep the colours. So basically it'll keep the colours when I exit, and I'm also going to get it to create me some view filters. So it's telling me there 2 filters were added to the current view, and I can come out. So as we know, using view filters, really powerful tool, but can be very time consuming to set up. And this is basically like a free output of the other tool. So it's actually created me these two, and I've only had to tick a box basically to get these. So yeah, we can use these to turn off elements, turn them back on. Very useful tool with the filters, but can be quite tedious to set up. Excuse me. Okay, so let's have a look at another view. I'm just going to jump to, let's go to this level here. And I'm just having a look, and I've noticed that the grid lines along the top are not really what I want. I'd like them to start at 1. We can renumber these, and the standard way in Revit, yeah, double click on each one and edit the number, but there's quite a few in there. I'd like a quicker way of doing this. So we have a renumber tool. So when this activates, I have a couple of options. I'll show you both. The first option is renumber by using a spline. So I've already drawn a line in there, which I'm going to use. And what I can do now is define the first number. I'm not going to add any of the other settings in here. I'm basically just going to renumber these quickly. So I'm using the start number of number 1, and what it's doing is it's based on that line I've drawn. So all I do is click on the line. It'll now show me the direction that the renumbering is going to take. So we're going to start over here and go in this direction. I have a reverse order option, so I can go the other way if I want. I'm just going to accept that. And we can see there, it has renumbered. So starting at 1 up to 11. Okay, so if I close that, now we know what can happen. Sometimes, for example, we can have new grid lines placed in. So let's just copy a few of these grid lines in. But that has now messed up my sequence. So I need to renumber again. So let's just go back to that tool, renumber, and I'm going to use the other option here. So this is number by selecting objects. And it's got a really neat little feature. Love this feature. It's called auto swap numbers. So I turn that on, and what I'm just going to do is just have a look up here. So number 1 is okay. So I set this, the current number, to 2. And what I do now is just select the grid lines, and this will do like a little number swap. So I work my way along. 10, 11. So I get to this point, so 11, and the next number is okay. So I don't need to click on that one. So what I'll do now is just reset that and say, well, the next number is 13. So now click on that one, 14, 15, and I'm done. Okay, so 2 really cool ways of renumbering, much quicker than the standard ways in Revit. So the next tools we're going to look at then are for drawing creation or sheet creation. So we have a manage sheet and views option up here. For this demo, I'm just going to focus on a few of these tools. I'm not going to go into all of them. So to start with, I'm going to actually generate some drawing sheets. So we have this option here, create sheets from plan views. So what this is going to do is generate a drawing sheet from the plan views I've already created. So in here, if I were to pick these plan views, so let's say level 1 to level 7, and I've already created a drawing sheet in here, which is this one. So it's actually going to use this one as a template to create these, and it's going to include legends, schedules, symbols. So just before I actually create the sheet, down at the bottom here, we can predefine some of the information that will be filled in on the sheet. So for example, I could set my name in there. I've drawn them. And for the sheet name, obviously I don't want them all the same color. So I need to rename these. So what I'll do, I'll select that one and let's call that, oops, turn that right, Floor 1GA. And then we have a really neat little feature here. So what I can do is, it's like using Excel. So if I drag down, we can do a fill increment, fill copy, and a custom increment. So if I were to try a fill increment, it's not quite what I wanted because it's the way it's numbered it. So what I'll do there, let's just do a basic fill copy, and then I can redo that again, and I'll do a custom, and this time I'll tell it which number to increment, hit OK, and then it's redone it properly. So floor 1, floor 2, and so on. Right, so I'm happy with that. I'm just going to create the sheets. So we click on the create sheets, and it will now generate those sheets based on the plan views that I've already created. Obviously, there's a few in there. It's going to take a moment, and it gives me a message at the end. It's telling me 7 sheets were successfully created. Okay, let's come out of there. So I'm going to have a look at my drawing sheets. There's sheet 1, sheet 2, and so on. So what I've noticed there is I don't like where my schedule is. So I'm just going to pick it up and move it. Let's put it down there. The problem with this is I would now have to go into each of the other floor plans and move that schedule, and I don't want to do that. So we have another tool that will help me here, and it's called Edit Sheet Parameters. So what I can do now is select the sheets from this list up here. And this option, Show View Locations, will actually show me the coordinates in effect for where things are on my drawing sheet. So I can see there under Schedule, there's the one that I've just repositioned. So I can do, using the little Excel features, do a fill copy, select that one and do a fill copy, update the sheets, and then I come out of that. And now when I go to all my other views, we can see that the schedule has moved. Okay, I'll do one more thing. What I'm going to do is create a column legend. Okay, so we have a tool to help me create the legend. So in the categories, I'm going to pick structural column. In the parameters, for this, all I want is, let's say, the family name. I want the type mark and the type name. I'm just going to switch the order of those two. And then what I'll do is give it a name. So column types. Okay. And then I hit create. So this is going to create me a little legend. When this is done, it will open that legend. Okay, so it's done. I hit OK. So there's the legend. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Now I want to place that on all my sheets. So we have a legend manager, and this enables me to place the legend I've just created onto the sheet. So I select the sheets, sorry, I select the structural column type legend, and then I select which sheets do I actually want this on. So let's just go down to those. I won't bother putting it on floor 8. I then hit apply, and it tells me there it's added it to 7 sheets. So hit close, and then I'm going to have a look on my sheet. Damn it, look what's happened. It's placed it right in the middle. Well, I don't want that, so I'm going to have to pick it up and move it. I'll just drop it down there. Now I know it's going to be in the wrong place on all the other views, so I'll just jump back and use that edit sheet parameter option again. So pick the floors. Okay, I'll pick them all this time and go to show view location. And if we look under the legend option there, I can see the ground floor plan where I moved it and all the views. You can see drawing 8, I didn't place it on drawing 8, so it's not showing on drawing 8. Okay, let's just copy fill down there and copy fill down there, update the sheets and close. So now it's repositioned on all my drawings. Okay, so let's come out of there and I'll show you one more tool. So we have an import export tool, and this will import export to Excel. So let's say I want to export my piling schedule, and what I'm going to use is this format for re-import. And what that means, it's creating a bi-directional link. So we can take it into Excel, make some changes, and we can bring it back. So I click export. I've basically done this before. So what I'll do, I'll just reuse that one there. So save, don't to replace, yes. So what this will do now, it'll actually open up Excel for me. And we can see there under the map, there's nothing filled in. So what I'll do, I'll just fill something in here. So just so you can see what I'm doing here, I'll put AJ-01. And then if we to copy that down, all the way down. Almost just a few more. Right, okay, so I've copied that down and I now just save it. That's all I need to do. It's saved. I can actually just close that. So I can just exit out of Excel and I go back to the tool and we have an import option there. So I just browse to that file and that's on my desktop. So there's the file, hit open, there's the piling schedule and I go import. That's done. See, it's really quick. So now if I jump over to my piling schedule, you can see there's the mark that I've just added in Excel applied to all those piles in the schedule. So really useful tool, really powerful, the fact that we can go both ways. So some of you in the past may have used the Excitec tools and you may have used them for piling. So we've also got some Naviate tools that are to do with the piling. I don't have the old tools installed on my machine. So what I'm going to do now is pass you over to my colleague, the new tool.
Thanks, Alan. Okay, I'll just share my screen. Okay, good. Hopefully everyone can see my screen here. So as Anna's just said, this is an older version of Revit. So this is 2021. And first thing to note here is that I'm showing you the original Excitec tools. So these tools were developed, well, about 11 years ago now, I think. So this is one of the more recent versions, but essentially what it allowed us to do was the first thing, we could create some parameters, and these parameters would store those eastings, northings, and cutoff levels. Okay, and obviously we could just do that for structural foundations or whatever it is we wanted to do. Then here we could select those, and we could also determine how they're going to update. So because this isn't an actual Revit schedule, we'd have to say, right, well, okay, when I print, when I save, when I export, let's make sure that these are actually updated. The other option was renumbering. And of course, we could renumber elements, more importantly, piles. Now, there were some limitations with this. So you can see here, we've got the option to number pile caps or number piles, but the piles and pile caps weren't grouped together. Okay, so what we're going to do now is switch back to the latest version of Revit with Naviate on top, and we'll look at how we can do this in Naviate. And obviously we'll look at some better workflows that we've got as well. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put those coordinates back in again. I know Alan's already showed this, but I'm going to show you a couple of different things we can do. So I'm going to go into my project management tools, and first thing we can do here is configure some parameters. Now, one of the things is you'll see that the shared coordinates are being thrown out to the CQ coordinates X, Y, and Z. But, you know, I can create my own shared parameters and just map these through. So in this case, I'm going to say I want the easting, northing, and cutoff level. Okay. What we can then do is, now that that's actually configured, I can go to my base point explorer and just check to make sure that this is coordinated. So you can see we've got a rotation, east, northing, and an elevation. So that's all looking good. What we'll then do is we'll now actually put those coordinates in. Now, I'm going to do this in a slightly different way. And you can see that we've got a similar set of tools at the top, so we can determine how these parameters are actually updated. But the great thing here is I can actually set what I want to update and how I want it to be updated. So you'll notice here, I'm pushing out foundations, and I'm also converting them from millimeters to meters. And of course, I can do the same thing here for these shared coordinates. And then all I need to do is hit update here, And you'll notice, as well as updating, we get that timestamp, which is important because obviously now we can determine exactly when these things are updated. Okay, good. So we've now got some coordinates on each pile. Of course, we could just select this and we could check what's going on. So you can see here, we've got the original coordinates, but we've also got our new ones in here. Of course, I can just delete those if I don't want those in there. So you see I've got easting, northing, cutoff level. And additionally, you can see I've got the top elevation, the bottom elevation, and the thickness of the element as well. Okay, so let's now get on to the actual numbering of these piles. So you'll notice now I've switched across from Accelerate to Naviate Structure. And here you can see that we've got a panel dedicated to piling. So let's first start with pile numbering. So we'll go to the pile numbering tool in here. I'm going to start with number 1, of course, in here. You can see that we can set some padding up. So in this case, you'll notice that I've got 2 coordinates or 2 numbers that I'm going to put in, and I'm prefixing that with a P. Now, the thing that differentiates this from the Excitec toolkit is this function here, subdivide piles by host. So what that's basically saying is if you've got a pile cap, let's say it's a triangular pile cap and you've got 3 piles in it, it will sequentially number those. So you won't get a pile that will say 20, 53 and 54. Yeah, it will be sequenced. Right, so what we'll then do is we'll go horizontal and vertical. We'll start in the bottom left-hand corner and we'll then go ahead and run the numbering tool. Okay, so obviously we get a report and we could view that if we wanted to. What I'm going to do though is I'm just going to jump down to my piling plane in here. Okay, and we'll just see what's going on. So let's zoom into some of these numbers. Okay, and obviously you can see here the effect of that. So we've got 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, and so on. So not only have these been numbered from left to right, bottom to top, but they've been sequenced based on their hosting elements, basically. So that's really quite useful. Okay, of course, if we then want to change the level of the piles, you can see at the minute that they're all the same kind of length. What my intention is here is to actually send these down to the topo surface. Okay, so that's something else we can do. So the topo surface has actually been linked via BIM 360. So this has been created from a borehole analysis in Civil 3D. We've then linked that across using BIM 360. And then in Naviate Structure, I can simply extend those piles down. Okay, so we'll just do this. And while these are extending down, I'd just like to talk about the reason why we've got 2 surfaces in here. So you'll see we've got this kind of brown surface in here, and then I've got this red surface underneath. Well, what I want to do is I want to take all these piles down to a socket that is 150 millimeters below the actual topo. And that's exactly what I've done. So in Civil 3D, I've simply just copied that surface down. So I've actually got a duplicate of that. And then what will happen is all of those piles will then be taken down to that red surface, which of course is the socket level. Okay, so it's just finishing up now. You can see that we're getting a report or a kind of a readout of how many piles are being sent down. So you can see we've got 135 at the minute, and that's now processing, and then all of those piles will then target that level. So there we are. You can see that's now done, and of course every single one of those piles is now set to exactly the correct length that I wanted. Now, as Anna's already shown you, we can go back to the Accelerate ribbon. We can go to things like color elements, and in here what I'm going to do is now pick on the structural foundations, and this time what I want to do is understand the pile length. Okay, you can now see all of those have been coloured up based on their lengths. So obviously here I can see that these guys down here are the longest piles, shortest piles are the orange ones at the top, and of course visually I can see all of those on screen. So again, another nice use for colour elements. Okay, so let's also check out the piling schedule. So we're going to our piling schedule now, and you'll now see the whole thing is just automated. So we've got our pile reference numbered up correctly based on the pile cap and piles in there. You can see that we've got the cutoff level, again in meters. We've also got the easting and northing, again in meters, along with the pile diameter, the toe level, the length, and so on. So that piling schedule is now kind of ready to go on sheets. And don't forget, you know, with the latest version of Revit, we've got these really good split and place tools. So if the schedule's too big to fit on one sheet, I could say, right, well, let's break it across a couple of sheets, and I can actually even control the height of each schedule on the sheets there. So there we are. So you can now see that end-to-end process for the management and production of that piling information. Okay, so I'm just now going to hand back to Ben, who's now going to close out our session for us.
Thank you, guys. Very interesting. Hopefully you can still see my screen, even so. Okay, so to summarize Naviate, it does mean different things to different people. As you can appreciate, we've only got so much time today, so we've covered a handful of the tools. I think it was the most sort of common 10 tools that customers use. But whilst appreciating the commercial benefits, many customers actually value having increased capacity to be able to kind of spend more time within design, and in turn being able to add additional value to their own clients. Now, for some, it's just removing the need to be able to work late into the evening, possible weekends, and of course, being able to establish that more sensible work-life balance. Now, as far as determining a price point for customers and being able to justify the cost, this can be broken down quite simply. So if we consider per person, you have an average charge out rate of say £70 per hour. The fact that the full Naviate structure costs approximately £80 per month, you break even if saving just over an hour a month, or if you look at it a different way, it's about 17 minutes per week. Now, in most cases, for existing customers actively using the platform, we see about a 15% productivity increase. But what does that actually mean? Well, if you quantify that across a typical organization for say 25 Revit users, and the sum of chargeable hours that they have at their disposal even, it means a wastage of approximately 648 days across the year. Okay, so finally, some feedback from a handful of customers benefiting from the platform, and really a call to action. So we do have a unique website covering all the things naviate.com, and of course, if you'd like to hear more about the overall proposition, please drop us an email, and we can then organize a one-to-one session to review how the platform can specifically address your own unique challenges. Of course, if you have any immediate questions at this point, please just add them into the Q&A section and we'll stay on to answer them. Now, for those of you needing to leave, thanks for listening. Thanks to Alan and Lawrence for supporting us today, and we hope that you found the session useful.